They don't raise their voice. They don't demand the spotlight. But when a Sigma INFJ enters the room, everything starts to shift. Welcome to Brainy One, where today we explore one of the most quietly powerful forces in the world, the Sigma INFJ. They don't rebel with noise, they rebel with depth, with silence that speaks louder than speeches, with intuition that cuts through illusion. While the world pushes conformity, they walk their own path, not to impress, but because they simply can't do anything less than authentic. And the wild part, they don't lead crowds, but they change them. In this video, we'll explore how Sigma INFJ disrupt toxic systems, challenge empty expectations, and rewrite the rules, not through chaos, but through clarity. If you've ever felt like the outsider who sees everything differently, you might not be broken. You might just be a Sigma INFJ. Let's begin. They challenge norms without needing to argue. Sigma INFJ don't need a debate to prove a point. They challenge norms simply by existing outside of them. While others follow tradition, play along, or conform just to belong, Sigma INFJ quietly ask, but does this actually make sense? And if it doesn't, they don't follow, even if everyone else does. They don't shout, they don't protest loudly, they just live differently. Their life becomes the rebellion. They question the rules, not out of defiance, but out of integrity. If something feels hollow, toxic, or fake, they won't pretend it's fine just to fit in. They'll step back, rethink it, and often walk away completely. And people notice that quiet nonconformity disrupts more than arguments ever could. The Sigma INFJ doesn't rebel to be difficult. They challenge norms because they loyal to something deeper. Truth, meaning, and a life that actually feels real. Their silence disrupts more than loud voices ever could. When most people want to be heard, they get louder. But Sigma INFJ, they go quiet. And that silence, it's not emptiness, it's impact. They don't interrupt. They don't yell. They simply withdraw their energy, their attention, their presence, and suddenly the room feels it. Because Sigma INFJ don't need noise to be powerful. Their silence speaks volumes. It says, I see through this. It says, I'm not participating in something that feels fake. And that quiet resistance, it shakes people. It forces reflection. It exposes discomfort without a single word being spoken. While others argue to be understood, the Sigma INFJ chooses stillness because they know that sometimes silence is the only language truth needs. They don't silence others, they simply refuse to add more noise to what's already broken. And in a world addicted to loudness, their quiet presence is what cuts through and changes everything. They think deeply, act intentionally, and refuse to follow the crowd. Sigma INFJ move through life with depth and purpose. They don't act on impulse or follow trends blindly. They pause, reflect, and ask, does this align with who I really am? They think deeply about people, patterns, pain, purpose. While the world rushes ahead, they slow down to examine what others overlook. And when they act, it's not to please, it's to stay true. This makes them stand out. They don't post for approval, follow trends for validation, or say yes just to avoid conflict. They're not rude, they're just real. And that kind of authenticity is rare. They'd rather walk alone with integrity than follow the crowd into something meaningless. And people feel that. Their choices aren't loud, but they resonate. Sigma INFJ show us that true strength isn't found in conformity. It's found in the quiet courage to ask, what do I believe? And then live by it, no matter who's watching. They combine logic and intuition to create radical insight. Sigma INFJ are rare because they don't just feel deeply, they also think clearly. They merge heart and mind, intuition and logic, emotion and analysis. And what comes out of that blend is radical insight most people never see coming. While others rely solely on facts or just vibes, Sigma INFJ live in the balance. Their gut tells them when something's off, and their mind helps them decode exactly why. They see patterns in people, systems, emotions, and connect dots no one else notices. That's why their advice hits different. It's not just smart or deep, it's both. It's the kind of clarity that makes you stop mid-conversation and think, how did you know that? They don't just understand people, they understand truth beneath the surface. Sigma INFJ don't guess, they perceive. And when they speak, it's not for attention, it's because what they see needs to be heard. They lead by influence, not authority. Sigma INFJ don't chase titles, status, or leadership roles, but somehow people still follow them. Why? Because they lead through influence, not authority. They don't command a room, they shift it. Their presence is calm but steady, their words are thoughtful, and their actions carry quiet integrity. They don't need to say, listen to me, people just do, because they trust what they feel in the Sigma INFJ presence. These are the people others turn to during chaos, the ones who bring clarity when everything feels like a mess. They don't lead with ego, they lead with example, with consistency, with vision that doesn't need validation. Their leadership isn't loud, but it's lasting because they don't just tell people what to do, they inspire them to think, feel, and choose differently. Sigma INFJ show us that real power doesn't demand attention. It earns respect, one quiet moment at a time. They stand alone but inspire many. Sigma INFJ are often seen on the outside, watching, thinking, walking their own path. They stand alone, not because they're antisocial, but because they're aligned with something deeper than approval. They don't need a crowd to validate their choices. They don't follow trends to feel relevant. They trust their own rhythm, even if it means walking in solitude. And that kind of authenticity, it quietly inspires everyone watching. People see their strength in stillness, their courage in reflection, and their refusal to compromise just to fit in. While others chase belonging, the Sigma INFJ finds peace in being. Ironically, by standing alone, they lead. By refusing to follow, they light the way. Their influence doesn't come from popularity, it comes from truth, from walking with depth, from choosing peace over noise, and from showing others that it's okay to live life from the inside out. They're alone, but never unnoticed. They break cycles by healing, not hurting. The Sigma INFJ have seen darkness, manipulation, betrayal, emotional wounds that cut deep. But instead of repeating the pain, they choose something harder. They don't seek revenge. They don't turn cold. They break toxic cycles, not by fighting fire with fire, but by transforming their pain into wisdom. Where others lash out, they pause. Where others repeat patterns, they reflect and rewrite them. This is what makes them rebels in the truest sense, not because they fight loud battles, but because they refuse to become what hurt them. They choose empathy over ego, reflection over reaction, forgiveness, not to excuse, but to free themselves. Their quiet healing changes everything. It shifts family dynamics, friendships, even entire communities. Because when one person breaks the cycle, it doesn't just change their story, it gives others permission to heal too. Sigma INFJ don't destroy what broke them. They transform it so no one else has to bleed from the same wound. They don't just rebel against systems, they quietly redesign them. Sigma INFJ don't rebel for attention. They don't scream, sabotage, or burn it all down. Instead, they do something far more disruptive. They quietly redesign the system from within. While others complain about what's broken, Sigma INFJs step back, study the cracks, and imagine a better way. They challenge outdated thinking, not with rage, but with reinvention. Whether it's in relationships, workplaces, or society at large, they bring fresh structure, soulful ideas, and deep reform without needing credit. They're the silent architects of change, observing what doesn't work, feeling what's missing, and slowly building something more meaningful in its place. Their rebellion isn't loud, it's lasting, because they don't just point out the flaws, they create solutions no one else even thought of. The Sigma INFJ doesn't just walk away from the system, they rebuild it quietly so it finally serves something real, something human, something true. Do you ever feel like you're quietly rewriting the rules just by being true to yourself? Tell us in the comments, what's one silent way you've challenged the system or changed your world? Your insight might inspire someone else to own their quiet strength. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep, thoughtful content only here on Brainy One. Because real change doesn't always start with noise. Sometimes it starts with you